Alright, welcome back. In this class, we're going to talk about a very important topic. It's called as tags. What are tags? Where do we use it? And how are tags even structured? So basically, if you understand tags, you'll be able to build websites even more quicker or even with better knowledge, right? So the upcoming lectures from this point on are going to have tags in almost like every single video. So this video is very important. So listen very carefully. All right. So let's just say I have a book, right? This book has an opening cover as well as a closing cover, and in between it has all the text or all the content inside it. And just like a book, a tag also has an opening section as well as a closing section. All right, a opening section as well as a closing section. Now there are a couple of tags which don't have a closing section, which have only the opening section, but we're going to talk about them in a later stage. But just remember that tags are nothing but a opening and a closing, and in between they contain information. All right, they're just pieces that hold information together. All right, those are tags. Now I'm going to show you what tags are inside the screen. So if you look at my screen, this is the website that we built in the previous video. We just said, hello, my name is Vamshi, I'm a web developer. Now, before we go any further, do you also remember the previous class in which we talked about a website having a head as well as a body, right? Now, before we build any website or before we start building a website, we need to have a main tag, all right? The main tag is HTML, all right? Okay, so what this basically does is, it's going to tell that, the opening and the closing is HTML, and between all of this is going to be HTML code. All right. So one more thing you have to notice is that, the closing tag has a small slash for it. It indicates that, the tag has been closed. The HTML is the regular tag opening as well as the HTML is the regular tag closing. All right. This is something called as the syntax. All right. The syntax basically means, there's a couple of rules or, regulations that a programming language has such that, it helps you to kind of like write code a lot more better. All right. The syntax for tags is, it needs to have an opening, it needs to have a closing, and for the closing, you need to have a slash to indicate that it is a closing tag. All right. So every single website or every single HTML document is going to have a main HTML tag. Inside the HTML tag, we are going to have the head tag as well as the body tag. Now let's write those both. The head tag is just this, head, and after this, we're going to write the body tag like this. All right. So just like that, we have our own HTML document. But now I'm going to show you something very interesting. Now that we have all the text here, I'm going to save it and I'm going to go back and I'm going to load my web page. It's entirely blank. So where have all these tags gone? All right. So these tags are not really shown in terms of how in terms of the main body or in terms of the main website, because these are tags. These are nothing but they hold information. And the website is only going to show the information that is contained within these tags. For example, inside the body, if I say, hello, my name is Vamshi. And if I save and go back, and if I refresh it, there it is. All right. I'm going to zoom it a little bit more, but for you, the text might be a lot more smaller, right? So it directly loads up what is inside the body. All right. So that is basically how you define tags. Alright, just to finish it off, remember the Google page which we saw earlier? Inside the head part of Google, we have a small logo as well as we have the title of the website, right? The title of this website is basically, it's google.com, right? So the title is Google. So now we can also add a title for our own website. So how do we do that? We're going to go into the head section because that is what is going to contain the information inside the tab. We're going to go there and we're going to have another tag. All right. The tag is title, T-I-T-L-E. All right. Inside this title, you can just say my personal website. And if you save it and if you go back and if you refresh the page, in your tab, you should see your own title, right? Now the title can be anything that you want. You can name your own name or you can kind of like, create a website for your dog, for example. You can have your dog's name as a title. So the difference between the head and the body is, once again, the head part lies inside the tab as well as but the body part lies the entire website or the entire area that you usually see. All right. So that is the head and as well as the body. Alright, so do one thing, start to create your own website, create your own head tags, HTML tags, title tags, give your website a nice little title, also give your website a small body, and inside the body start writing something. Alright, so in the next classes we're going to look into some more, a little bit more advanced stuff. So practice this a lot, practice this a couple of times before you start the next lecture. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about something very interesting. So we're going to expand upon our main website or our base website, and we're going to create some more interesting stuff. All right. So for example, let's say we want to write an article just like this one, right? So if I want to write an article like this, I need a big heading. I need a couple of paragraphs. I need a smaller heading perhaps, and I need some space between my paragraphs as well, right? So I need headings, smaller headings, paragraphs, space between my paragraphs. How do I do that? Let's just see. All right, let's just start building our website and then we'll try to figure out how to do that. So obviously, first thing we have to do is we have to create a HTML tag because that is the main tag that we have. Inside the HTML tag, we obviously have a head tag. Don't forget the head. And after that, we have a body tag. All right. Now, one more thing which I want to clarify is it doesn't matter if you remove your head tag as well. The website is still going to work fine, but it is basically common practice to have head tag as well as body tag, because later when you're creating bigger websites, head tag is also going to matter a lot, right? And for this point in time, it's going to hold only the title, but as we go further down the multiple lectures that we have, we're going to use the head tag for a lot more purposes. For example, we can also use it for the icon that we have inside the website, which also I'm going to show it in the next upcoming classes. All right. So the title is my favorite article or my article, for example. All right, so we have an article. So let's start writing the article, right? Inside the body, we're going to write the article. We can just say breaking news. Vamshi is teaching web development. All right, so breaking news, Vamshi is teaching web development. This is the main title of our website. Now I'm going to save it and I'm going to go inside the browser and I'm going to reload it. The file which we open up, so now even though we want it as a heading, it still appears small, right? All right, so we'll just keep it as it is, and if I just leave a bit of space, and how is it possible that he is creating the best HTML and CSS course on the planet? How am I doing that? If I save it and if I go back and if I refresh, another small disturbance or something that we did not expect, even though we left a lot of space between these two lines are still coming up in the same line. All right, why is that? Okay, we'll tackle the issues one by one. Firstly, we need a heading. All right, so we'll tackle that issue first. The way you can use a heading is by using another tag, which is the heading tags. All right, you can do that by saying h1, and inside that we can say breaking news. All right, if I save and if I go back, if I reload, there is our heading. All right, so what is h1? h1 basically means it's the heading 1. Consider 1 as a level. So there are 6 different levels of headings that we have. Let's just say h2. h2 is breaking news. If I save and if I go back, you see the heading level is a bit smaller, right? The level 1 is the biggest heading possible. Level 2 is a bit smaller. 3 is going to be even more smaller up until 6. All right, we have 6 different levels of heading tags. We'll quickly implement all the different levels. This is h3, this is h4, this is h5, this is h6. Save and if I go back and if I refresh, there are our multiple headings. All right, now you see that the heading 6 is almost less than normal text, right? Yeah. So there are 6 different levels of headings that you can use throughout your website to kind of create these funky titles or smaller titles or anything while you're writing your articles, or if you want to distinguish one section of your website to another section, anything in general, you can use the heading tags. All right, now we want paragraphs, right? So generally you can actually write paragraphs just like this. I'm also going to show you what I did there. So what I basically did is there is something called as lorem, L-O-R-E-M, and after lorem, if you say 25 or 30 or any number and hit on tab, it's going to create a jargon or basically a garbage words up until that number, right? So we just did lorem 25, right? So it created 25 garbage words. If I save and if I go back and if I refresh, upon first glance, it looks like normal text, but if you read it, it doesn't make any sense, right? So that's the purpose of lorem. It's basically used for kind of like, a showcase text. Whenever people are creating websites or whenever you're creating a website for your client and you want to showcase how it's going to look like with some text, you can basically do this, right? It looks like original text upon a glance, but only reveals itself when you focus on it specifically. All right. Now, so before doing this, so what we usually do is, in terms of writing HTML, we wrap paragraphs in terms of a paragraph tag, right? So for paragraph also we have a tag. So the paragraph tag is something like this. It's just P. Once again, all these tags have an opening and a closing. So make sure you're closing a tag, right? It doesn't matter what tag it is. If it has a closing tag, make sure you're always mentioning it. All right, inside the paragraph, I'm going to say lorem 50 and I'm going to save. And if I go back and if I refresh, there is our lorem 50. So this has 50 different words in it, right? So now, if I want to have a small break, if I want to have a small distance between my first paragraph and my second paragraph, which is going to be lorem 100, these two paragraphs. Now I have already a space, but if I want to have another space, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say BR. Now, this is our first tag which doesn't have a closing tag. You know what? Just to kind of like demonstrate the use of this, I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to say lorem 50 and lorem 100. All right. So if I save and if I go back and if I refresh, now we have two different paragraphs, but we don't have a space between them, right? The space we can include by saying a BR tag. BR basically means a break, right? So when you have this tag, and you refresh it, you can see that the paragraph ends here at explicable, right? After the question mark, the paragraph tag ends there, and the next paragraph comes down to another line. If I remove this BR, it's going to continue right from this point, right? Explicable. After that, that's the second paragraph. All right. So we can also add multiple BR tags like this. Once again, remember the break tag doesn't have a ending because we are not adding anything between the two tags. If you remember our example, we had an example of our book, right? So a tag is going to have an ending if it contains something in between, right? The heading tag contains a heading text. The paragraph tag contains a huge amount of paragraph. But the break tag is just a break tag. We are not going to write anything in between the break, right? It's just a tag which represents, it says to the website that, just leave a small space or go to the next line. That's the functionality of the break tag. And if I use another break tag, it's going to leave an empty line, right? So that's the reason we are not going to have an ending tag for the break tag. So you can add any number of break tags that you want, and it's going to keep adding another new line to the website, right? Instead, what we can also do is we can remove all of this and we can add the paragraph tag like we talked about earlier. So we can just say lorem 25 is one paragraph, and I'm going to say, lorem 100 is the second paragraph. And if I refresh it, see, now the break tag is applied automatically, or the spacing in between is applied automatically, because HTML now knows that, these are two different paragraphs, right? Earlier in that case, when we just had a huge block of text, it did not work because HTML did not know that, these are two different paragraphs, or these are two separate paragraphs. So what we can do is we can add two different paragraph tags to kind of like let HTML know that, these are two separate paragraphs. All right. So that's it for this class. In the next class, we're going to look at something even more cooler. So I'll see you in the next one.